Marina, and in this video I will talk about the transit of Jupiter in Scorpio and how it will influence each one of us. First of all, the time frame. On the 10th of October 2017, the transit Jupiter will enter Scorpio and it will stay there until the 8th of November 2018. So 13 months, dear friends. This is not a small period, so that's why it can bring a lot of changes for all of us. Okay, next, let's be clear about why we're talking so much about the transit of Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter is the planet of success. It is the planet of abundance, of opportunities, of growth and happiness, and basically everything positive is related to Jupiter. But can we say that each one of us will benefit from the transit of Jupiter in Scorpio and we are all going to have this happiness and fulfillment and goals and dreams coming true? Well, unfortunately not, because it's just not how life is working. And in this video, actually, we're going to try to find out how the transit of Jupiter in Scorpio will influence you according to the position of your Jupiter in your birth horoscope. Okay, so you need to know the position of Jupiter, in which house you have Jupiter placed in your horoscope. Also, so let me write it here. So first you want to know house position of Jupiter. Then you also need to know which houses Jupiter is ruling in your horoscope. So rulership of Jupiter. Now remember guys, Jupiter is ruling Sagittarius, but it is also ruling Pisces. Don't forget that, even though we have Neptune and Neptune is the second ruler of Pisces, don't forget that Jupiter is still a ruler of Pisces. So they're both, Neptune and Jupiter are ruling Pisces. So you want to check where in your horoscope you have Sagittarius and Pisces, because these three houses will show you where you're going to feel the strongest influence of this transit. So I repeat again, the house position of Jupiter and also the houses which Jupiter rules in your horoscope. These are the areas where you're going to feel very strong the influence of this transit. Of course, there are also some other important things that you need to pay attention on. And one of the most important things is actually how strong is Jupiter in your birth horoscope. Because the stronger Jupiter is in the birth chart, the more positive influence it will have into transits or in other predictive methods, it doesn't matter. So you need to be aware of that generally to be able to say if you have a strong Jupiter and it's really, well integrated in the horoscope, or your Jupiter is not so strong, because in these cases the influence is going to be different. Now, of course, some indications for having a strong Jupiter. First of all, if you have Jupiter in Sagittarius or in Pisces in your birth horoscope, then your Jupiter is strong. Also, if you have Jupiter in first house or in 10th house, your Jupiter is also very strong. Jupiter in 9th house is also strong because it rules, it's associated with 9th house. 12th house can also be a good house for Jupiter, but it's a little bit more complicated, so it's more specific. So let's accept that only in 9th house Jupiter is so strong, or at least on a material level it is. Then also it's important if Jupiter in your birth chart is making aspects with the other planets, and more specifically if Jupiter is included as part of a closed aspect configuration. There might be thousands of different variations of the closed configurations that you may have in your birth horoscope. Some of them are challenging, like the Tau square, like the Grand Cross. Others are really positive, like the Grand Trine, like the Bisextile, like the Kite. But of course, there are also some minor configurations in different variations. And it doesn't really matter. The most important is if Jupiter is part of such configuration. For example, let me give you just an example. Let's say that you have your moon, let's say on the 5th degree in Aries, and your sun is on the, let's say, 7th degree in Leo, and your Jupiter is, for example, on the 10th degree in Sagittarius. These three planets are connected with trines, so this would be a grand trine configuration, and this is a close configuration when a planet makes aspects with two planets or more at the same time, and the other planets are also connected with some kind of aspect. So if you have such a configuration in your horoscope which includes Jupiter, it means that the energy is flowing better than if you have only a line aspect. Let's say you have, even if it's just a trine and it is a positive aspect, it's not so strong as if you have Jupiter in a closed configuration, because when the energy circulates, you can use it in a different way, you can benefit more. Okay, so you need to find out that as well. And okay, so I think these are some of the major indications that we need to start. And after that, of course, the sign position of your Jupiter is really important, because we are going to find out what type of aspect the transit Jupiter in Scorpio will make with your birth Jupiter, with your natal Jupiter. And we will try to find out how it will influence you, whether it will be really positive with lots of opportunities, or for some of us it will be time for some changes, or we're going to find out right now. Okay, and of course we start with Aries. So let's say that you have your natal Jupiter. This is your natal Jupiter here in Aries. Okay, so here I have my note. So if you see me looking down there, it's here is what I'm looking. Now, if you have your Jupiter in Aries, first of all, Jupiter in Aries is actually in a good position. Jupiter is strong in Aries. Also, it will make a quincunx with the transit Jupiter will make quincunx with your natal Jupiter if you have it in Aries. Now let's find out what the quincunx means. So okay, I will write it here. This is how we write the quincunx. Okay, so this is one of the more complicated aspects, the quincunx, and especially this one, because we have another quincunx which is more different, but specifically this quincunx, or the left one, is more challenging. This aspect actually is 150 degrees. So during the upcoming 13 months, the transit Jupiter will make quincunx with your birth Jupiter in Aries. And the 150 degrees, so this aspect basically consists of 90 plus 60 degrees. Now the 90 degree aspect is basically the square, and we know that the square is a challenging aspect. So first of all, that's why the first influence of this aspect of the quincunx is related with some possible challenges and difficulties. We struggle with something, you know, we have some challenges and problems or difficulties. After we overcome them, after we fight with this, whatever it is that you need to fight with, then you will feel the influence of the 60 degree aspect, which is the sextile, which is actually a positive aspect. So the main idea is that first of all, you can face with some kind of challenges, And after that, you may benefit in some way. There might be some positive circumstances, some positive changes, but don't forget, first comes the difficult part, the 90 degree, because it's the bigger degree. After that comes the positive one. And the reason why this aspect, this quincunx, is more difficult than the other one, than the right quincunx, is because it's associated with Scorpio. This specific quincunx. And the fact that it's associated with Scorpio suggests that it's related with some possible critical situations or some serious transformations. So, in a few words, we can say that for people with Jupiter in Aries in their birth horoscope, first of all, they may face with some kind of challenges and difficulties. They need to overcome something. After that, they can benefit. But the main idea is that they need to transform something. They need to transform something and to change it, but in a very deep, on a very deep level. Okay, so let me delete that. Now, next we have Jupiter in Taurus. So we'll talk about those of you guys who have their birth Jupiter in Taurus. If you have Jupiter in Taurus in your birth horoscope, then the transit Jupiter will make opposition with your natal Jupiter. Now, the opposition suggests that, first of all, this is a challenging aspect, so you need to realize something. The opposition usually includes interaction with another person, some kind of communication, sometimes even confrontation. So the most important to you is actually to use the contacts with other people and actually to try to realize something. Something about your dreams, something about your goals, and of course it affects the areas, as we said, where Jupiter is in your birth horoscope and the houses which Jupiter is ruling. In these areas of your life, you need to realize something. You need to become more conscious about something. Maybe you have some illusions, maybe you have some expectations which are not good for you or not realistic or whatever it is. You need to realize something. You need to become more conscious about this area of your life. And in most of the cases, it will come through the communication with another person, because the opposition is symbolized or is represented by Libra as a sign. So that's why usually these changes and these insights that we can have are coming through the communication with another person. Okay, and actually Jupiter in Taurus, well, we can say it's not weak, but it's not also strong. It's like an average strength there, but not really strong if you have your birth Jupiter in Taurus. Okay, so next we are going to talk about people who have their natal Jupiter in Gemini. Now, Gemini, just let me write that we had the opposition here. Okay, so if you have your birth Jupiter in Gemini, usually it's not a strong position because Jupiter basically rules the opposite sign. So it suggests that for you, you need, Jupiter may have a more specific influence. And when the transit Jupiter is in Scorpio, there will be again a quincunx. We have a quincunx here. So the transit Jupiter in Scorpio will make quincunx with your birth Jupiter in Gemini. Now, this quincunx, as I said, is different than the first one because it's associated with Virgo as a sign. Again, you can face with, first of all, you can see here basically that this aspect is 150 degrees and it consists of 90 degrees and 60 degrees, so the square and the sextile. So again, we can say that the first the first influence can be more challenging, related with some difficulties, some things you need to overcome, some changes maybe. And after that comes the positive influence of the transit, basically the sextile, the influence of the sextile. So you need to, there might be some kind of contradictions. You may face with some kind of inner contradictions. And again, it's related with the house where Jupiter stays in your birth horoscope and the houses which it rules as well. In these areas and your goals and your desires there and your possible success, all of these areas actually need to undergo some kind of change. The reason is because there might be some kind of inner contradiction or something which is not fitting there. And after you make these changes, after you realize that, and you put some efforts in order to change that, then you can benefit from this. So for people with Jupiter in Gemini, the transit of Jupiter in Scorpio can be more specific, and the positive part comes at the end of this transit. Okay, so next we have Jupiter in Cancer. People with their birth Jupiter in Cancer. Now, Jupiter in Cancer is very strong because it's exalted there. So this is the next strong position after the rulership. We said that Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces, but it is also exalted in Cancer. So it is the third strongest possible position of Jupiter. And actually that's great news, because it means that Jupiter is going to be very positive with you in most of the cases, of course. And in this case, for you, the transit Jupiter in Scorpio will make trine with your natal Jupiter. Now, okay, so let me see. Yes, this trine is actually a right aspect. This is the first aspect. That's why it is associated with the influence of Leo, which means that there might be different positive opportunities for you. If you need, to impress someone, if you want to attract attention, if you want to be respected by others, then this is a great year for you, basically 13 months. There might be some new opportunities for you, and basically you are one of the signs which are going to benefit the most of this transit. So a great year coming ahead for you. But in order to benefit, you need to be confident in yourself, you need to take action, and you need to attract attention. So dream in big scale and try to use the opportunities around you, because there certainly are going to be some new opportunities for you. And this might be a time when you can really be successful in certain things, in certain areas. Again, I repeat, it's related to the house position of your Jupiter in your horoscope and the houses which Jupiter is ruling. In these areas you can be very successful. You may have some new opportunities and growth, and you can even be lucky in these areas. So a great year for people with their birth Jupiter in Cancer. Okay, so next we are moving to Jupiter in Leo. Basically people with Jupiter, with their birth Jupiter, okay, in Leo. Now let me look here. Okay, so the transit Jupiter in Scorpio will make square with your Jupiter in Leo. Now this is a square. Okay, here we have the trine. Okay, so the square aspect is a challenging aspect. We know that. Basically this is the first square, and it suggests that there might be some kind of contradictions with the outer circumstances. You need to change something. Basically the the square is an aspect which requires taking some actions and changing something. Usually we may go through some kind of frustration, things may not work very well according to our goals, according to our plans, and the main idea is to make a change. So if you don't put efforts, you're probably not going to benefit from this transit. That's the truth for you, Jupiter in Leo people. And actually your Jupiter in Leo is quite strong. Jupiter is a fire planet, that's why in Leo it's very strong. It's not the strongest position, but it's strong enough there. And you have the right qualities, you have the needed qualities, but you need to change something during this year according to the position of the Jupiter in your birth horoscope and the houses which it rules. You need to change something. After you do that, then the success may come to you, but it won't be if you just lay down on the couch and expect for the new opportunities. Not going to work well for you. Okay, so next we have Jupiter in Virgo. People with Jupiter in Virgo, of course. And first of all, Jupiter in Virgo is not really strong because Jupiter rules the opposite sign, Pisces. Of course, there are some other indications. It doesn't necessarily mean that your Jupiter is weak, but as an essential dignity, the sign position, it is weak. Okay, and however, in this case, the transit Jupiter will make sextile with your birth Jupiter. So this is related with some positive new opportunities. And this is the time when actually you may achieve some results. These are probably not some huge results. These are not the final goals that you're going to achieve, but it might be like a milestone for you, you know, like the first step or achieving the first small task that you have put in front of you previously. So this could be a very productive year for you if you have your birth Jupiter in Virgo, and you may achieve some results. There might be some, you know, positive things happening for you. Of course, the sextile is not as powerful as the trine, so you still need to put some efforts on something. It's not about, you know, fighting with circumstances or overcoming some tough challenges, but you still need to put some effort on it. And you can achieve some realization, you know, you can manifest something actually. So for people with their Jupiter in Virgo, this is actually a good year. Next we have Jupiter in Libra. Okay, so Jupiter in Libra is in an average position. It's not really strong, it's not really weak, so they're fine. Now, this is a semi-sextile. Basically, the transit Jupiter in Scorpio will make semi-sextile if you have your birth Jupiter in Libra. Now, this semi-sextile is associated, okay, so let me just check my, okay, so this semi-sextile is associated with Taurus, with the influence of Taurus. So it suggests that you need, you can achieve some visible results, but you need more stability. One of the main topics for you can be related with the, you know, the energy that you put into your goals or your dreams. Also, something important is to find out the needed resources. The needed resources for the things or the goals or, you know, your plans, everything that you would like to achieve. Now it's time to think about the practical stuff actually. What you need to find as resources which can help you actually to benefit and to manifest your desires. So the semi-sextile is not a major aspect, so the influence is not so strong, not so visible for you, but the most important is actually to concentrate on the material, the practical side. Again, I repeat that the most important is the house position and the houses which Jupiter is ruling in your birth horoscope. And in these areas of your life and the goals that you have there, you need actually to find the needed resources to be more practical and materially oriented on the stuff there. Okay, and next, something really important, we are going to talk about people who have their birth Jupiter in Scorpio. Okay guys, of course this is your lucky year. Jupiter in Scorpio basically means that this is the return of the transit Jupiter in your birth chart, and these are very important major events, and actually these are like a turning points in our life. It's like a new cycle for you. This cycle is 12 years, basically that's how much it takes for Jupiter to return on the same position. So this might be, or actually this is a new 12-year cycle in your life. And you can set some new goals, there might be different new opportunities, and you might be really motivated to start doing something. Basically, the most important, the meaning of the conjunction is action. Taking action, starting something new. So this is the year when you have to be really confident and you have to really start doing something. Put some new goals, define your desires and go for it, you know, start doing something. Of course, the most important is the house position where Jupiter stays in your horoscope. Basically, the transit Jupiter will go through the same house for you, and also the houses where you have Sagittarius and Pisces are going to be influenced by this transit. In these life areas, you should start something new and you should be very active and you should be very optimistic because there are great opportunities for you. Okay guys, so next we have people who have their birth Jupiter in Sagittarius. Okay, we have it here. Now this is again, first of all, Jupiter in Sagittarius is very strong because it rules this sign. That's why every transit of Jupiter is actually very important to you. And the transit Jupiter in Scorpio will make semi-sextile with your birth Jupiter. Those type of semi-sextiles, they are associated with Pisces. That's why this is like the ending phase of something. This year, these 13 months, will be about finishing, completing something. Probably it's about some old projects or some goals that you might have, or maybe some beliefs that you used to have. This is the time, you know, to finish with all of that. The time is not here yet to, you know, start the new initiatives, to be so active. It's more time to, you know, to complete, to think about the past, you know, try to assess your past, to what you have achieved, what have worked, what didn't work for you, and actually to complete everything that needs to be completed, to finish with that. So this is kind of an ending phase, an ending cycle for you who have your birth Jupiter in Sagittarius. Okay, and next we have people with their birth Jupiter in Capricorn. Okay, so actually I wanted to delete this one here. Okay, so here we had it. Now, if you have your birth Jupiter in Capricorn, well, this is not a strong position for Jupiter because Jupiter is exalted in the opposite sign in Cancer. So Jupiter in Capricorn has some specific influences. But the sextile, the transit Jupiter will make sextile with your birth Jupiter, and this is a positive aspect. It is associated with Aquarius, this type of sextile. And it suggests that you may achieve some results, you can manifest something. However, it may not be so obvious on a material level. It's very good transit for your ideas, for, you know, for the intellectual area or some projects that you may have. Not always it has such a visible material outer manifestation. However, there might be some new opportunities for you and you may achieve some results. Again, I will repeat that the sextile is a positive aspect, but it is not as powerful as the trine. So the opportunities might come up for you, but you need to grab them and you need to do something with them. Just sitting there and expecting for everything to show up and be positive for you, it's not going to work. You have to put some kind of effort on it. The opportunity is there, but you have to take it. Very important. But generally we can say that you're going to benefit and there should be some kind of positive events and opportunities for you. Okay, and next we have Jupiter in Aquarius, people with their Jupiter in Aquarius. Now, in this case, the transit Jupiter will make square with your natal Jupiter. And we know that the square is a challenging aspect. Actually, this square, this is the left square, is associated with the influence of Capricorn, and usually there might be some kind of struggles, some kind of things which are not working so well for you, and you need to change something. This is the time when you have to take action. If you have some concrete goals, if you have some plans, something you really want to achieve, you have to work really hard for that. Otherwise, it's not going to happen for you. And you need to overcome some obstacles. Very often this square, the last square, actually has an influence on an inner level. Again, it could be related with some contradictions. For example, you might be disappointed from something, from some of your goals. Maybe you have achieved something, but then it had turned out that it's not exactly what you have wanted. Now is the time to change that. So it's time for action, it's time for efforts, and it's time for changes for you. Okay, guys, and finally we have Jupiter in Pisces. People with their Jupiter in Pisces. Okay, so me including, I also have my Jupiter in Pisces, so I'm really excited about it, and I expect that we are going to benefit from this transit very much. First of all, Jupiter in Pisces in the birth chart is very strong because it's the sign which Jupiter rules, one of the signs. That's why Jupiter can bring more benefits and more positive opportunities and everything in your life. Second of all, we have the transit Jupiter in Scorpio trining Jupiter in Pisces. And this is the second trine, basically the left one, which is associated with Sagittarius as an influence, which means that it is time for some new goals. It's time to look in the future, to set some long-term goals, to be optimistic, to change your beliefs actually, to work on your positivism, to work on your perspective about the future. And actually, yeah, you have to dream big. You have to put some long-term goals and to be very optimistic. And I really expect that there will be some positive changes and new opportunities for people who have their Jupiter in Pisces. Most of all, it's related with some, with our future, with our goals, and also with our belief system. But anyway, it could be a very, very productive and positive period. So generally speaking, we can say that when the transit Jupiter is in Scorpio, the water signs and the earth signs are going to benefit more because Jupiter makes harmonious aspect with these signs. We saw that, of course, Scorpio have a conjunction, Pisces and Cancer have a trine. Also, we have Capricorn and Virgo having a sextile, and okay, so for Taurus it's a little bit more complicated, but most of these, so basically these signs are going to benefit the most. However, guys, you know that we all can benefit, but it's important how. So what's the approach that we should take. And this is one very interesting approach to analyze the position of your natal Jupiter and what type of aspect the transit Jupiter will make with that. Okay, so I hope it was helpful. I hope it was interesting for you. If you have some comments, please leave them below. I will be happy to read and answer. And of course, don't forget, if you want to subscribe and to connect with me, or if you want to sign up for an email updates, you can go to MarStars.net and sign up there. So let's pray that we are all going to have a very meaningful year ahead, and we are going to be wiser, because don't forget, guys, that Jupiter is about being wise and you know, being smart and doing good to others, and being actually very positive with ourselves as well. So I hope it was useful for you, and I will see you very soon. Bye.